And Multisite was just merged into WordPress 3.0. I repeat, WordPress 3.0, like horrible data structure. Everything was in post. When you disable the plugin, you had like all translations. It was a mess. The product part was so like pulling in this direction of like, we need to do more products. We need to be faster iterations on the market. We need more resources. We need more things. And at the same time, also the agency took off. And so we had people that came into the agency and working for global customers that then were like, but we need resources at the product space.
Hello everyone, my name is Maciej Nowak and welcome to the Awesome to Know podcast, where we discuss all things related to building great websites. I've been recently curious about how agencies evolve into product businesses and what changes come up along the way. So today I've invited Robert Windisch to share his history. Robert is co-founder of Inpsyde, now called Syde, one of Europe's largest WordPress agencies, and creator of MultilingualPress plugin. Robert will take us back to WordCamp Berlin 2010, when WordPress Multisite first landed in core, and he realized that running each language as its own site was the missing piece for a streamlined translation workflow. He and his team turned that insight into MultilingualPress, learned firsthand what it takes to manage an agency product, and then in 2015 spun off their entire product division into a standalone company. We will walk through how an agency eats its own dog food by building a product it needs, moving from an ad hoc feature hacks to a dedicated product team, messy business decision to split the agency and product businesses, and why solving real customer problems beats chasing trends. Plus, we will pick at what's the next for multilingual sites, WooCommerce integration, and how to spot a plugin idea in your own client work. If you want to keep learning more about WordPress, please subscribe to our newsletter at awesomstudio.com/newsletter. This is osomstudio.com/newsletter. If you are watching this on YouTube, give us a thumb and subscribe to our channel. This means a lot to us. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Robert Windisch.
Hey everyone, it's good to have you here. We're glad you decided to tune in for this episode of the Awesome to Know podcast.
Hi Robert, how are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah, great to have you on the podcast. And I wanted to talk with you about not entirely WordPress thing, but rather on a building side of things. Basically, you've got your agency, plus the agency has released a couple of products, plugins and products. And I thought, okay, that's the dream of the agency to switch the sites into product company. And since you've done this, I wanted to talk with you about this, how this all started, what was the journey. It started a long time ago, as I checked. So I would love to know a little bit more on the history of releasing products as an agency, and nitty-gritty and problems and challenges of that, and ultimately I want to learn if the grass is greener on the other side. And you are from Syde, so I will saturate this conversation with this side and at the other side, and grass on both sides, right? So tell me a little bit more about this, how this all started, what was the product, what was the rationale behind it, and how this all happened.
Yes, so the first product we ever created as an agency was the thing that we are most proud of, MultilingualPress, which is a solution to translate WordPress into multiple languages by using WordPress Multisite as the core data layer. So that came about at WordCamp Berlin in 2010. When we were, when it was a small WordCamp, not as a thing like, oh my God, it's WordCamp Berlin. It was 2019. No, it was the 12th one. So it was like, let's say 200, 300-ish people. And there was a Ask the Professional panel where people can just like throw questions at the people attending there or like at the people at the stage, and we were among them. And the question that people throw at stage was, how would you do a multilingual solution? And Multisite was just merged into WordPress 3.0. I repeat, WordPress 3.0. I'm not sure how many people that listen to that even know or even had experience with this number, but WordPress 3.0 had Multisite merged from a fork before that was then merged into WordPress core. And we were already using Multisite before it was merged to WordPress. For us, was the easy answer was like, yeah, use Multisite for that, because there was no product out there at that time. And then the follow-up question were, is there a plugin for that? And we looked at each other and was like, not yet. So right after this conversation, we were like, hey, that's a good idea for us, like solving that, because we need multilingual solutions as an agency, and we need a solution to solve that. We checked, there was none. And so we got to work and created the first version of this plugin to make sure that we have a solution for ourselves, and a solution that we deem to be the level of quality, the level of like using WordPress, the core structure of WordPress to its advantage, as best as we could imagine a multilingual solution to look like. So and so it was the perfect product market fit at that time to simply create a product that we need, that people were asking about, and it also resonated with the people in the room.
Yeah, so because you were the market, right? You started this to build this for yourselves because you were the market. Someone just hinted at you that, there's nothing like this, and coincidentally, you were in a need of exactly the same thing, right? So like that, light bulb has lit, and this was the trigger, right? What was the market reception? Because you were the market, right? So what happens then? What, like you mentioned you were in a need of something like this. So how were you solving that problem before you started to working on the product?
Yeah, so at that time as an agency, we still had very much focus on one language only, because it was like, as you know, like when you are a young agency, and it was not the interconnected year of 2025. There you had like our clients were mostly only German language. So when we needed some translation tools, then there were like the known translations tools out there, and like and they look very different than the tools look right now, because it was like 15 years ago. And there also were tools that, or like plugins that are now no longer available, and we are all happy for that. Just to mention Qtranslate. So there were like you know Qtranslate?
No.
Oh, you never missed that. No, you will never want to go back to that. Like horrible data structure. Everything was in post. When you disabled the plugin, you had like all translations. It was a mess. It was just like to get things off the ground for like translation areas in this space. So it was not really that we needed that for every client as we do it kind of right now, because of all the interconnection and all the size we have as an agency, and the potential clients we have. It's really something where we now need that like for almost every client. And back then it was like just like an occasional client where we go like, oh no, it's such a mess with all these other plugins. And then like having to build on the WordPress data structure and reaching out to other parts in the WordPress space. And we became like a standard for the enterprise world, or like that the enterprise world shaped at that time. We became like a staple there very fast, because it was exactly the thing that was needed for people that didn't want to deal with like the structure of data that a multilingual plugin that is not using Multisite forces onto you.
Okay, and I'm curious now what happened. Like you made a decision. You heard this on stage. Then you went brainstorm internally with the team. And then what happened? Like, what was the process back then, so many years ago, to release such a plugin? Like, it was such a long time ago, and you were small. So this is probably also difficult to like revive these memories. But I'm curious to know that initial moment when you have that idea.
So we sat down at the WordCamp immediately, opened
Okay.
up, and were creating the plugin. So we were creating like the base data layer. We were like, okay, how can we connect like posts and pages? That was the first we started with a very MVP like style. So we started with the thing that we need to have done to even start thinking about more features. So we got that done, and then that was like on the day of the WordCamp for like let's say one hour or something like that. We just sat down, wrote the data layer, wrote the base connection between posts and pages, and then we were like, okay, we could use this right now in a client. We could use this for other things. So we then put it out on WordPress.org. We put it out on GitHub, I think. And then we were going like, okay, we have something there. That is something we could use easily. And then we were adding features that, as you pointed out perfectly, in our agency, they were like, yeah, we need that, we need this, we need that. And as an agency, we always need to extend other plugins. So we built in as much as hooks and filters as we could do to make sure that like teams in our company or that other people can simply extend the way we work with the API or with the API functions we offer, so that everybody could simply extend that and build their own solution, or like more and more sophisticated like front end and whatever that they could build on the data that we offer.
You know, in product campaigns, there are product managers, right? They manage the product. They don't manage the team. They manage the product and what's on the roadmap, how to develop the plugin. Was there back then anyone like this who would take care of, you know, what are we going to ship?
Like, I don't know how many people we were. Let's say we were 10 people at that time, or let's say, I'm not sure, maybe let's say below 20. I would imagine we were at that time. Currently we are 120, so that's a completely different beast. So when we were at that time, we had people that we had, I think, one person that was working then on the plugin to improve it and to get it forward. We had like issue trackers, because the agency. So we had this everything of that lined up, and we had like already like then customer feedback of like people using our solution and giving us like feedback, going like, hey, could you we need that, this is not working. So we were already improving that. So we very fastly were just like heading outside and inside stakeholders, and we were bringing them together to make sure that we move in the right direction.
You have all these tools to manage software projects for your clients, right? Because you know, websites is just a software project, and you can reuse all of these tools to and apply them to your own software project, which is the plugin. And obviously the product evolved, you evolved as the agency, so you're not the same as you were before. And how is it right now? How is the product managed right now when you have, you know, so much different scale and the product is used by different kinds of organizations as well, and on a different stack, which is still WordPress, but you know, that's not the same WordPress, right?
Yes, so we had we created out of this one product, we had a few other ideas where we also created other products that we created. So we then had like a product team in our company, and that then was got so big that it became its own company, and we let it go, and we were like, okay, that's the that is something that they can take care of it, and we kept MultilingualPress and other plugins, and we kept the product team. So so that's why we now have we still have a product team in our company, and that works simply with the products we create for the WordPress market. Like we have collaborations with PayPal, Payoneer, and others that we simply create payment solutions for WooCommerce. And then we have also our MultilingualPress, that is one part of the products there. And you have people that are responsible for those products. And we have a development team inside of the company that works on all of those things. And the benefit for us is that because we also use MultilingualPress in our daily work, that we have people helping the product teams with their agency knowledge, and with the agency teams, that then gets people into the MultilingualPress team to make sure that can solve problems, grow, and have features that people are looking for, that we can move those things forward.
All right. So I didn't know that you had a product that was encapsulated in a company and then let go. But was it sold? Was the company with the product sold?
Yeah, so we had one of our co-founders that were really into growing all of those things. The solution is called, or the website is called MarketPress, and it was that was the product that the other products that we created were WooCommerce focused. So we created WooCommerce German market, which was the one solution to get WooCommerce to sell things with WooCommerce in Germany. So that was the one and only thing in 2012 that you could use to use WooCommerce in Germany without potential getting sued. So that was can you imagine, with the growth of WooCommerce, that was really a thing that people needed to buy. And we were really early on in this market. And then we had one of our co-founders that has had all these WooCommerce shopping solutions, shopping themes and plugins. That then was we were okay, we as an agency want to go in this route, and the products were not really the main focus we had there. And so because we had a growth spur in the agency market. So that's why we were okay, we keep those products, and the WooCommerce side of things will be its own. And then then MarketPress and us split ways, and they are still up and running, and we kept the non-WooCommerce solutions and continued our way. But with our knowledge of WooCommerce, we then had the WooCommerce payments plugins coming in later after that, because we still had as an agency, we still had all this WooCommerce payment and shop knowledge, so that we then could intensify our relationship with Automatic and with WooCommerce to really help global providers like PayPal, like Molly, to get their payment solutions up and running. So that was for us, because the knowledge of how to build products was still part of the company. So that's why we still kept the let's say secret ingredients to what is the difference between an agency and a product was still with our company.
Cool. That's super interesting. And when I'm listening to you talking about that maybe split, this sounds like a messy process, because there were a couple of co-founders, there was the agency, there were the products, and this got encapsulated with one of the co-founders and sold. So I'm curious now, I don't know how much you can say about this, but how this division go? Because my outside look is that it must have been messy. I'm not saying it must have been, I don't know, very problematic, But this is not in like, I don't know, you have to estimate, how the worth of the company, of the plugins, how you will split and so on. So can you share a little bit more? How was it done?
Yeah. So the easy answer is because we had that much teams already. It was very clear what team or like what people were like part of this product company. So because and the for us one of the reasons were like that we the same thing when we sold like other products later those years, then like a few years ago we sold a few other plugins that we are not really paying attention to. The struggle that we mostly faced were what direction should the company take. So it was like please stop working on all agency things, or let's have not that much attention on all the products and potential products that will come out of that. So it was really like an internal struggle of like the struggle that every agency faces when they deal with products is like, okay, how much attention do we pay to the product side of things, because it's really it's a gamble. And so that was really like the let's say the primary motivator of like, okay, how can we like, because the product part was so like pulling in this direction of like, we need to do more products, we need to be faster iterations on the market, we need more resources, we need more things. And at the same time also the agency took off, and so we had people that came into the agency and working for global customers that then were like, but we need resources at the product space. And so the goal for that to simply were like, okay, we are not really we cannot help this product space or this product part that much as it deserves to do. And the agency would also then has problems with clients. So we were like, okay, we need to make a decision here, and those two pulling forces need to be balanced out. So and we were like, okay, the best way is to simply set the, like, as you know that if you love something, you set it free. So we were like, okay, the best growth path for this product space would be that it's be on its own, and we keep the stuff that doesn't really make sense for the product space. That means like MultilingualPress, Backed Up, and like other solutions were staying with us that were not heavily WooCommerce focused. And then we were like, and we then sold, for example, we created a own site for MultilingualPress, because before that MultilingualPress didn't have a website. So because we needed to sell it somewhere, and the old like marketplace space were gone. So we then created our own website, and we also sold it with our partnership on WooCommerce.com, because it had like WooCommerce features to make sure that you can use translations and multilingual at WooCommerce. So the focus for us was really to make sure that like our products then have enough room to go forward with that, and to have the space of like to have the growing space to really move on as their own.
My mental picture is that there were two forces in the company. There was the agency force and there was the product force. And, maybe it sounds funny when I'm talking about this in terms of forces, but, when that force of product grew stronger, like in Star Wars or something, when it grew stronger, it started to make a like bigger influence on the company, and started to like, the ship started to drift a little bit, or something like this. And for the profit and loss, management control and the whole strategy, you had to encapsulate this in a company and maybe sell. And have you been thinking about maybe not selling, but putting this as a separate company with separate set of people, and build a holding, so that there would be Syde holding, and there will be Syde agency, and there will be Syde products, and maybe Syde more products, and maybe something else, Syde hosting. I don't know. Like, think of this, like, obviously you have to encapsulate this for the safety in a business unit, but maybe build a conglomerate of companies, like a constellation of companies, instead of selling it.
Yeah. That was 2015. And so when we split parts, and we did not really had everything lined up for that. So because of this pulling force, the easiest answer was just set them free, and because then all the things that we were were talking about, and like again, like 2015 were also years where WordPress had a growth spur. So we had the let's move faster thinking from all sides. So we were let's move faster from the agency part, let's move faster from the product part. So then you can say, in hindsight, totally understandable to do a holding to keep this all together. But for us at that time was just the decision was to really really encapsulate the moving force that we were up and going. So because we also lost when we get them out, when we separated, I think we were 30 or 40 people, and then we were back at 25 or something like that. And we were but we have clients, we have client projects, so we need to hire people to get the pace up and running. And at that time we were internally only German speaking people. And so the next growth spur were already ahead of us to really make sure that we as a company can grow internationally and grow in multilingual, so that we ourselves switch to English as a language. So with that all happening at the same time, kind of, for us to be no, sit down, relax, focus on what we need to do right now, was not really in our head at the time.
All right. Yeah. Obviously, reading the chart to the left is always easy from the perspective, right? And I didn't know this was 2015. And since you were young agency, this is less business experience, less life experiences, less talks with other founders and other agencies. So this is, and also not so interconnected as it's right now, with so much more knowledge available. So that's true, and that's easy thing to say right now, 10 years after the fact, right? But I want to know what were the discussions happening around this. This is always interesting to see how the idea grew and got formed, because we can judge from the perspective, but we can't predict the future. What we can think about is how the decision was formed. I'm trying to understand, what was the thought process and the decision process.
Yeah, it was we right now we have lawyers now. As a 120 people agency, we have our lawyers, we can easily set up another company to simply have something grow in there. But at that time it was simply so far out. And again, for us, the moving forward with the speed of an entrepreneur, that was simply kind of a distraction. We were not really paying that much attention to the possibilities we could have or we could not have. So we were simply going you go, you do you, we do our thing, and we don't need this product selling space anymore, because we can sell it on our own, because we simply set up for Multilingual and Backdoor and the others, we simply set up the websites for that, because we're an agency and the shop needs to be in multilingual So we simply use Multisite and use. So for us, it was not really like we lost an opportunity, and more like the next logical thing from us working as we did was simply to simply spin up these new pages, and to set up a shop and to make everything up and running. So that was for us really like then at that time the next logical step to simply do, and to start and to continue moving forward with those products that we kept.
Cool. And you mentioned you've got lawyers and so on, and on the wave of a little bit of US versus Europe kind of jokes. Is this true? To set up a company in Germany, you need a notary that will read the, contract for a couple of hours? Is it so time consuming to, when you sell a company, you had to form a company and sell it when you were excluding this from your original business? So
there are easy ways to do this. You can, because we are a remote business, so we have like other ways of meeting. We have other ways of doing our business. So there are ways of doing those things, and to selling things, and to setting up things that are not a caricature. It's still like there are still like legal processes that you need to follow. But like right now, if we would right now want to have another company, it would be, as a company right now with our size and with our connections that we now have, it would be a very easy thing to get this up and running. And if someone needs to sit somewhere and to depends on the length of your the contract, and depends on if all needs to be read it, or just like the notary just need to say like, okay, did you read that? Yes. Did you know everything in there? And they also might need to read it, but it's something that it's the same way of compliance wise. You need to have like certain things in place, and if they sound tedious, there is a process how it could be done. It's again like it's a very different mind shift if you talk to an enterprise agency and going like, yeah, there is a tedious project and we're going like, yeah, we know compliance and other processes. So it's from a level of like not being bothered with, like, let's say here from a 3 people freelancer conglomerate that need to do something legally that's like, it's tedious. And for us, we are at that level as normal things need to go, because with all the compliance, with all the certificates we have, that we really know what is the thing that we need to do to make something happen. So but I never heard of like being read for many hours to do something. I can imagine that, but it's not a thing that we are normally encounter.
I was just thinking that obviously everyone can now do a lot more things remotely, but if there is an article that you have to sit with a notary to form a new company, and the notary is obliged to read the contract of that company, the forming contract. I don't know, I can't remember the name. You've got to suffer through it. So I was thinking about this, that in Germany it's so much more, let's say, legalistic. So much more is required to form a company, to do stuff and so on. You mentioned, using WooCommerce was impossible until your plugin, right? Because you wouldn't be able to legally sell anything online. And I guess this is because of, legal status of, the legal quirks in Germany, right?
Yeah, at that time it was simply that, for example, there is one thing that Germany I think does, and nobody else is like, or like I think it's a Europe thing, that when you check out something, you need to have a final overview what you're currently doing, with all the numbers up and with all the numbers, final numbers, and we're then going like, yes, I want to buy that. And WooCommerce itself never had that feature of like the summary page that you then say, okay, I need to buy that. So that was one of the primary things we needed to add. And right now, for example, I think in Europe it's at least in Germany that you need to tell people what is in the product. If you have, for example, clothing, you need to tell them what percentage of what is in this product, and you can write it somewhere. And then you have like this base number. If you sell something in kilograms, you need to tell that people can compare prices. You need to tell them how much gram is like how much euros in gram this is. And that is also not something that WooCommerce brings in as a core feature. So those things were like, you can write them on your own. You can code your own way out of that. And you also have a little bit of like, let's say, legal leeway if you're saying like, I don't need this, my customers, that's my argument why I don't need that. And that's why people then still were coming to us going like, okay, we need to make sure it's easily like you have a lawyer looked over that. So we easily had like those ground marks being solved for them to simply make WooCommerce grow in Germany. And most people were like taking our product to make sure that they can sell something. But again, that's the global growth of WooCommerce, where it's based on the easiness to add that to WordPress and the easiness of like the product itself. And then you need to still deal with the local ramifications of having WooCommerce in your country.
I think this is catching up, but not in all of European countries. And if this was as early as 2015 in Germany, we are seeing maybe some hints of this in other countries right now. Some to some extent, like visibility of prices and what's the lowest price from 30 days ago. But I know this is not the thing you're talking about, but this kind of transparency when you buy stuff online in Europe at least. Going back to our original thread of running a plugin or a product company, what's most difficult in all of this, things related to building a product?
Best way to describe that is the learning when you are agency and you think you know how to do products. Like that was for us in the early years. The best way to describe it is like we had people from our company or like from the agency business that were like, hey, we have a product for you. You can now like sell it. And we looked at that from the product perspective because we had two perspectives in the company. And we were like, no, you do not have a product. Like it's a thing that we use for one customer. It's not broad enough as a product, and you have no documentation. And getting from a very specific tool, let's say like a plugin, but it's if you look at it from a mechanical standpoint, it's a tool. So looking from a very specific tool to getting it to be a very generic tool, that is a very big shift. If you do not know what you're doing, then it's like it feels normal. It's just like that's the requirements this one customer had. Please sell it. And then as a product company, you're going like, but that's one client. Like, do you know how many people use this? Do you know how many people are in the market for that? Should we now get out and check with the market if anybody cares about this product? So I tell you a funny story. We had a product that was multilingual WooCommerce, and that was the biggest idea item when WooCommerce were like voting for what you want to have next. So we as someone with a multilingual plugin, we were like, yeah, that's a piece of cake. Like
something for us. Yeah, sounds like fun.
Yeah, perfect. We're perfectly suited for that. So we were like, let's simply do the product. So we had the agency team work on the multilingual WooCommerce solution, and then they gave us that. They were like, done. We have one client that kind of like, that's the requirements they had, and we solved that, and now you can use it and sell it as multilingual WooCommerce. And then we were looking at that, and we reached out to other WooCommerce people, to other WooCommerce potential clients, and to people that use this. And at the end, we scrapped all of that because it was not at that space where it solved all the problems that those people had. It was solving like the biggest part that it solved was the where you store your stuff, like in which area in the world is this one product, and how can you sell, like how can you move this to other parts. And that connected with translations was then like, okay, in the French inventory, these are the 5 products. So if you sell those, then you can use them from there. Or if you sell in the French language, then you have like this product 5 times. So it was a connection of those things, and we then like moved it together to a product that simply syncs the inventory amount over all languages. But we didn't have this one solution that solves all multilingual problems for WooCommerce, because that was simply too much of too much requests in too much detail from too much different clients. So it was simply like people were looking for the holy grail of translations of WooCommerce, and we then. So the state right now is we have our syncing of stock that's central stock, and we have our and MultilingualPress has features for WooCommerce built in. So that's the like the end of the story is we simply have our translation plugin can now also do WooCommerce, and we have a special product for syncing stock, and even that is talked internally to be merged as one thing, because it's simply kind of like belongs together. So but we like shied away from like solving this one big cluster of you ask 10 people and you get 11 things that they need to get to multilingual WooCommerce. So we were like, okay, that's not a product. And again, like the starting point was we have this done for one client, go with it. And the perspective of having a plugin in the company and creating a plugin out of that, or like creating a product out of that, that's a like for us was a very steep learning curve.
Is this a significant revenue stream for the company to keep the plugins going, or is it more of a marketing exposure and kind of marketing activity, which by the way is generating some revenue?
It's both. So we as being the ones with the most sophisticated translation plugin using Multisite, and using that for all the products, like for all the solutions for all the agency customers that need multilingual, it's kind of like plays in both fields. With us being remarkable, and like the White House were using our website before the new administration. So it was really that that our solution is the go-to-market solution in the enterprise world, because it simply solves all the questions that they have, and it's so extendable that other agencies can like build their stuff on top of that. And at the same time, we also use it for our solutions internally, and we have customers that are onboarded through their need for multilingual websites.
What's in the future for these plugins? Is this driven still by the market demand, let's say, so conversation with customers and coming from within the company, or more WordPress, let's say, project being developed? Like, where's the what's the balance?
Again, it's both. We have customer because being the go-to-market solution in the enterprise world, we still onboard new customers to this product. And from WordCamp Europe, because we are not really putting that much of like a marketing force behind it, because it's growing organically. And we have if we have exposure to someone that never heard that, and to, for example, when we talk with people and they never thought about Multisite for multilingual, and they know Multisite, you had like almost religious awakening sessions with people where they go like, oh my God, this works. And if they never thought about that, so there is still so much market out there. We had it at WordCamp Europe where people came up to us for our booth at for MultilingualPress, and we were like, awesome, you launched the product. We were like, it's there.
10 years ago, guys.
So you see the potential that we could have if we bring this more in front of people, because one of the biggest points we have, for example, when talking with hosting companies, is hosting companies always have the problem with multilingual solutions taking up too much of like processing power, because they are forced to do this because the single site plugins need to bend reality to make sure that you can load a language. Sounds weird, but that basically that is how they need to be done this. And for us, Core does all of that because it's multi-site. So we have so much potential still out there to get this in front of people, that people go like, oh, that's an interesting take on that. I never thought about that. And then they reach out and they simply use our solution, and they see the benefits. They need to unlearn things because everybody is using all their weird single site hacks to make things happening at the right way. Like back in the time where widgets were like, oh my God, how I do widgets in other languages? And we were like, simply go to the other translation and change your stuff there. So it's something from the product space where we still have that much of growth potential. So for us, it's we are just like in the kind of like in the middle of all of it, because the potential for people using more multilingual, they need translations. Auto translations can help them to reach other markets, but they need to store their data somewhere. And so, yeah, let's use Multisite for that. So there's still a very good plan to make out of right now to use like multilingual WordPress. And our solution, as we know that from other feedback that we have, is the best in the I don't want to deal with the downsides of all the other plugins.
When we say that like eyes are opening and new paths are opening, like I have this kind of feeling when I'm listening to it, because one of the projects we run could benefit from this solution. So like that puzzle piece is now like fitting very well inside that one project we have at the company that could benefit from that. I'm in the business for a couple of years, and still something like this. I'm thinking about market education and so on, and how hard it is for WordPress. Like you need to educate people to use tools that are suitable for the task, and that doesn't mean you have to pick the first one from it's a plugins, because this is just, the most popular or the most money went into marketing that, and doesn't mean necessarily that this is the best tool. And this is super difficult in such a huge number of plugins available. And like, how do you sift through this mess? And that's one thing. And then a lot of people are just doing things like, punching keystrokes, like, yeah. So I think the education is difficult. It gets you the market, it gets you the like visibility. You can't overdo this, in my opinion. Like, there's always something you can do around education, around products, and how to do stuff efficiently, like at least in my opinion. Yeah, like I'm alluding to your booth where you were marketing, but then the success of that booth was because people were not aware of what can be done, right? So that they were just not aware they can do stuff more efficiently or better.
Yeah, that the problem right now is also with everybody has their own personal assistant as an AI. And we also have that as I'm also been organizing a WordPress meetup. You have those people that like do not attend like the exchange with people because they have their AI assistant helping them, and the problem with them is like they don't ask the right question. So if you ask an AI agent, how can I grow this, and like staying at your project that you just experienced, oh yeah, Multisite can help with that. That is one of the reasons where exchange with people is very helpful, because if you be paired up with the right people, and if you ask your question to the right room, there is this challenging of your thinking that can really help you grow as a business, where you need to really ask your AI assistant the right prompt, and then the right prompt, and then to push on that to get to the same question my business, what can I do differently? Because if you simply ask AI to like, hey, what is the best way to build this website, it will tell you for multilingual solutions, for example, take the biggest one, take this one thing, and you're fine. And to then question it, to go like, okay, but what is the technology wise, I'm a developer, yada yada yada, what is the best angle for me to be in control of data, to be in control of the workflows and all of that. And then at some point you will end up with the going like, yeah, maybe a multi-site could be a solution for you. And that's why it's really for us more from an education point, and less from a hey, you need to see this cool product. So because we know there are so many people still out there who do not think about like the possibility our product can bring to them.
AI is a big topic, and I always dig into AI area with my guests, and this time I will pass because I can't talk about AI during every episode, but like I'm tempted to do this, but I will pass this time so that we keep the episode more on the topic, and I will
later time. We can talk about AI in a different show.
All right, now, okay, we both go for vacations very, very soon. I mean, you send me vacation and I go for real vacation. But
it's a vacation. It's 3
cool. All right. Yeah.
1 week of work.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a perfect vacation. No, I'm just joking. No, don't take it, the wrong way, But as a sequel, we can maybe have a dedicated episode on AI on WordPress, because there's a lot of hype as with every change and every, let's say, big step in technology development, like it was with crypto and other stuff and so on. So a lot of hype is there. No one is getting the full picture, and I would love to get, to know more what is being done by other people. So that would be a cool sequel to this conversation.
yeah, I'm happy. I'm up for that.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much, Robert. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast and talk product and stuff around WordPress and building a product company. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
If you like what you've just heard, don't forget to subscribe for more episodes. On the other hand, if you've got a question we haven't answered yet, feel free to reach out to us directly. Just go to osomstudio.com/contact. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode of the Awesome to Know podcast.